Today on Beyond the Chicken Coop, we are making sugared cranberries, and these are a perfect holiday little treat to add to a beverage, a cocktail, a mocktail, or add it as a little finishing touch to a dessert. These are actually fairly easy to make, and the best thing is you have to start these ahead of time, just by a day or two, but anything we can do to get ahead of the game during the holidays is a win in my book. So we're going to start with a cup of fresh cranberries. In this pan, I've already placed a cup of water, and I'm going to add some sugar to that. I'm going to start with half a cup of sugar right into this pan. And while I have the sugar out, I'm going to take a quarter cup and measure it into this bowl, and that's going to be used a little bit later. This pan with the sugar is going to go onto the stove just enough to melt the sugar. I don't want to bring this to a boil. I don't want it that hot. If it gets that hot, I'm going to have to let it cool. Takes a little extra step. So I just want it warm enough for that sugar to be completely dissolved. Okay, my sugar is completely dissolved. And what I'm looking for when this is on the stove is that when the sugar is still in the crystal form, it'll look cloudy in here, and you'll even see a layer of the sugar on the bottom. I'm often giving this a swirl just with the pan as it's on the stove or with my spatula. Once the liquid is completely clear, I like to give it a nice stir, and then I just test the liquid. And if I feel any sort of granules of sugar in there, I'm just going to give it another minute. We're going to add our cranberries in here. We don't want this to be boiling. If you got it that hot, just let it cool down to about 170 degrees or so. You just don't want it so hot because the cranberries will just burst open, and we don't want that. We want the cranberries to stay whole. So these are going in. Give it a little swirl, and we just let them set for 15 minutes, and we'll be back. Okay, these have sat here for about 15 minutes, and every once in a while I just came over and give them a little swirl to mix everything up, and we are going to take the berries out of the sugar water. I just have a baking rack over a cookie sheet. We're going to use a slotted spoon. Just let them drain out, and then put them on top of the baking rack or the cooling rack. And I want to make certain that I separate these out so that they're not touching. Once these are all on here, we're just going to let them set, and they have to dry. And that's going to take, oh gosh, anywhere up to an hour, maybe even a little bit longer. It's going to totally depend on your kitchen, the temperature and the humidity. You can just let these sit though. I'm going to take the sugar water though and pour it into this jar. This is essentially a simple syrup, and which you use in mixing cocktails often. And so we're going to save this since Thanksgiving is just around the corner, and we can use this for mixing cocktails. If you want to make this a little bit more cranberry infused, you could just leave it in the pan, add a handful of cranberries, put it back on the stove, just on medium heat, until it warms up and those berries start to pop. That will release some of the flavor and the juices. It's going to turn it a beautiful pinkish color and infuse it with just a little bit of that cranberry taste. And that's a great thing to use during the holidays. Okay, let's take a look at these cranberries and see how they're doing. They're super shiny, but they are dry. They're tacky, but they're not super sticky. So here's what we're going to do. I have that bowl of sugar that we measured out at the beginning. And we're going to take these and just drop them right into the sugar. Started with the spoon, but I think my fingers are just going to do a better job.